Okay, what's up, guys? Welcome to Sex with Kat and Mark. And this week we have Ali on. So this is going to be amazing. We're going to have a chat and talk a little bit about not only OnlyFans, not only escorting, but what it's like to do that as a trans girl. So we'll get started. Do you want to kick us off, Kat?
Yeah, so we're here today with Ali. Ali's one of my good friends, so she's from Sydney. Does escort and OnlyFans, and maybe first, do you want to just tell us maybe a little bit about yourself, your background, how you kind of entered the industry?
Wow. I started the industry a couple of years ago. It was more like a confidence thing. Someone said to me, why won't you join OnlyFans? And I said, why would anyone pay to see me? And then the same person was like, well, I'd pay to have sex with you. And I was like, would you do that? And it's like, yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'll sign up to a certain website. And then next thing you know, 2.5 years later, we're still here.
So was this one of your partners that said this to you that was like, hey, you should
it was just a random guy off a hookup app. So I was like, I'm into it. I love money.
Yeah, that's sick. All right.
I love money.
That's cool. And so that's what got you started.
Yeah, that's how I started.
I'm curious then, like, tell me a little bit about your personal life then. Like, at what point in your life did you decide to transition, or did you decide that, hey, I want to live life as a woman, that's how I feel that I should be?
I mean, I guess I always felt like I was a bit different than everyone else, a bit more feminine per se. Once lockdown started, I obviously was stuck at home like everyone else, and I didn't know what to do. And that's when I kind of just got in my own head a little bit, and I was like, maybe I am different. Maybe this is something I should explore, maybe speak to someone about it, go speak to a psych. Just because I had these thoughts, I would tell my friends for years that, hey, I think I might be different. I don't feel like a boy. I don't feel like a man, but like, I don't know if I want to be a girl. And they're like, you know what, best thing to do, go speak to a doctor, see what they say. And I did that, and I got referred to a psych. And then they were like, look, based on what you told me, it sounds like you already made up your mind. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's do it. And so I started transitioning during lockdown, and then lockdown ended, and here I am.
Wow, so that was really recent, actually.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years now, which it feels like forever ago. I don't remember much of myself before I transitioned, which is pretty wild. It's kind of like my mind has kind of blocked that part of my life, and I'm looking at it from like an outsider's perspective. So that's not who I was. That's someone else.
Wow, I'm so interested. Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking, like, how far into the transition are you? Like, is there like, do you have to take hormones and things? I don't know if makes sense?
That makes sense. I take hormones. I am on estrogen pills, and I take testosterone blockers. So kind of like a guy going to a gym taking testosterone to build up their muscles. I take estrogen to change my body from the inside out. So my body's all female now, which is great. And I'm just about to get surgeries just to align what I feel on the inside, on the outside.
Okay. And it's funny, when you said lockdown, I was like, that felt like a year ago. Like, it felt so weird. Then you were like 3 years. I was like, oh, fuck, it has been a while. Okay, so I'm super curious then, because your first instinct was to go speak to some friends, right? You were like, look, I just feel different. Like, I don't feel like I'm in the right body, essentially, is the way you're kind of describing it. It sounds like those friends were pretty supportive, right? They were like, look, you should speak to someone about that. I'm curious, like, what type of support did you receive from them? And were there friends or people in your life that didn't provide such support?
It was more like, because I was known on the scene in Sydney for doing drag shows. I was performing in bars and nightclubs. So I was dabbling within, drag, which was, dressing up as a woman and doing shows and performing for people and audiences. So my friends kind of were like, oh, it's kind of like you just want to be your alter ego, your persona 24/7. So it wasn't anything shocking. to any of my friends. So everyone was really supportive. I didn't really face any backlash from anyone, which was great. Yeah.
Do you still do drag now? That's so interesting. I didn't know that about you.
Not a lot. I usually bring it out every Mardi Gras because I get booked to do some shows here and there, which is always fun. But it's more like burlesque, sort of like any other girl getting on stage, you know, the big ostrich feathers, the lingerie, and people love it.
I love that. You know, I still haven't been to Mardi Gras yet.
You haven't? Me neither, actually.
I know. I will get there one year.
We'll need to go. When is Mardi Gras? I don't even know.
You would know. It's soon, isn't it? Isn't it March or something?
February, March, around that time. So yeah, it's happening very soon.
All right, me and Kat will need to go.
Yeah.
We'll need to go.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get you guys on a float. Let's go.
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. And sorry,
no, you go.
No, you go. No,
Me?
okay,
All right.
I'll go. No, do you want to?
No, you go.
So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like it wasn't like you woke up one morning and you were like, fuck, I'm different. And you go speak to your friends and all your friends were like, what the hell? I did not see that coming. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were younger then, you already identified that you were into men. Is that correct? Is that your sexual orientation when you were younger?
I don't know. Like, it's weird to say. I just... Look, I'm bisexual now, so I'm into men and women. Yep. But when I was younger, I just wanted to play like the female part, the female role. It's kind of like when kids play video games, they always pick like the female fighter. So I guess that's what I leaned towards. Yeah.
Okay. And so what I'm imagining then is you already had friends that are fairly, let's say, open or understanding, empathetic, which is a really positive thing. I think it's very fortunate. What about your family though? Were your family accepting and supportive?
I told my family probably about 6 months into my transition, just because I kept getting sick from the hormones. My body just kept, because my body is changing and was changing at the time as well. I just kept getting like these cramps and I was crying all the time. And so one day I was getting ready to do a show and I was FaceTiming my mum. And she was like, I just crying the whole time. And then my dad took it pretty well. He was like, look, it's better that you follow your path and you choose happiness rather than, you know, you killing yourself with this secret. And my mum, you know, she's still coming to terms with it, but she has come around and she's made progress, which is great. So my family, my siblings know about it. They're pretty supportive. I don't really have much family in Australia just because we moved here when I was younger. Yeah. But anyone that's close to me here is pretty much supportive of what I do and me living my authentic self.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm just curious. So with being a trans woman, have you faced, maybe not so much from like your friends and family, but especially in an industry like what we work in, which as I always say on this show is really catty. Have you faced any, I don't know, have you faced any stigma or I don't know, bitchiness, backlash, maybe not even just about being an escort, but maybe about being a trans escort? Because I imagine some girls in our industry would maybe get jealous like of you, that you're obviously very successful. You're quite known in the industry. And I can already imagine that wouldn't sit well with like a few people. So like, have you faced any backlash?
I just feel like people don't like other people succeeding, if that makes any sort of sense. I wouldn't say I faced backlash, but I faced people not liking the fact that I was succeeding in the industry, whether it would have been in regards to who I saw, in regards to my clients or how much money I was making. They felt like that I, being trans, should be lesser than them.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So let's go back. Sorry, I'm so intrigued. Let's go back to your journey, right? Sorry, Ali, I'm loving this. So you meet a guy off like Tinder or something, right? An app. And he's like, yo, I would pay you. Right. Like, and then, so I imagine getting told that it's a bit of a confidence boost. It's like, all right.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. And so then you jumped on, was it escorting first or OnlyFans first? Or was it both at the same time?
I feel like it was around the same time. Like, I feel like OnlyFans I started first, and then escorting came right after, probably like a week after.
Okay. And what type of clients did you find yourself getting? Like, what does your typical clientele look like?
I have a variety of clients, younger, older. I can't really say I've got a specific type.
Yeah, okay.
Do you see women as well, or is it just guys?
I mostly see guys. I do get a lot of inquiries for couples, but it's usually the men having this fantasy and their wives kind of wanting to do it just to please their partner. But I kind of like shut them down because I want everyone to be on the same page, and I don't feel comfortable if all parties are not on the same page.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, could you explain that to me?
So usually guys have like these fantasies that they want to reenact pornos that they see online, and they bring it up to their partner, and sometimes their partner just agrees to it because they don't want to say no to their husband or their boyfriend. And I don't feel comfortable going into a booking with a couple if the partner is not like 100% sold on it, because then they're not going to have a good time and it's going to make me feel like I'm doing something bad.
Okay. So you almost feel like the wife or the female partner is kind of being pressured into this in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what would change that? Like if, let's say the wife came to you and was like, look, we would love to do this. We both really, have this fantasy. Would that then change your mind? Would that be a booking that you would take?
Yes. It's more like I'd like to speak to everyone at the same time, not just one person throughout the whole booking process, just because you never know if the other person's sold on it 100%.
Okay, fair. And so that's what is that typically what you find? Like I'm trying to picture this. There are a lot of people that say, look, this is my fantasy. And just in the real world, it's so hard to be able to enact this or to be able to fulfill this fantasy. And so they go to someone like you for this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, a lot of people have fantasies about trans men and women, but it's not like you can go on the street and be like, oh, that person's trans. Like, you can't really it's just like, we are a fantasy, we are a niche, and people do want to, like, experience that bit of magic that comes with someone being different.
That's cool. And I guess there's probably, from the client point of view, there might be a lot of shame and stigma on them as well, right? So if they're seen trying to look for this experience, trying to find a trans woman, they could also face, I guess, stigma or, worried about their own internal like sexual shame that might come with that as well. So I think this is probably a safe environment, safe in the terms of emotionally for the client as well, where they can, experience this fantasy in a space where they're not going to feel any judgment.
Definitely. Look, I've been on dinner dates with people out in public spaces, and no one really cares. Anyway, like if I were to go out on the street, no one can really tell that I'm trans or that I'm different. Yeah. So I guess that's always a bonus in a way, but it's not always for everyone where you can just pass as a cis person. But I guess it's up to whoever books a trans worker to just be like, fuck it. Like, I'm just here to enjoy myself. Why would I care what anyone else thinks?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I love that. And I think I said this last week as well. We did an episode on anal. And I was even saying, I was like, more and more guys are getting into like wanting to be pegged. It's like a growing like thing now. Yeah, Ali knows. She agrees. Yeah. It is. It's like it's becoming like a more popular request for me as well. Like, oh, do you do pegging? And
Kat's like, I'm a special person now. I was like,
I don't have that crucial body part, and strapping it on is really difficult. But when you've got one attached to your body, it's a bit easier.
Yeah, there you go. And is that what guys are after? Like the clients that you meet that want to be with a trans woman, is it just that idea of the fantasy that it's something different, it's very kinky, or is it guys that are liking things like anal play that want to be pegged, that like does that come into it, the physical aspect, or do you find it's mostly emotional, mostly like it's kinky and I want to experience something different?
I feel like it's 50-50. Like I've had bookings that were solely based on my body. and what I had to offer. And then people just wanted to meet me because they saw me online and they were like, look, I've never been with a trans woman, but I saw what you post, I saw what you look like, and I like you as a person rather than your body or what genitals you might have between your legs. And I thought I like those bookings a lot more because they're connecting with me as a person rather than me as a trans woman. Like, my genitals shouldn't define someone's attraction to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think you get that a little bit, Kat, as well. Like, people booking you based off, oh, okay, you're this very, very intelligent woman. You kind of like used to be a businesswoman. And so they connect you on that level as well. So I think, yeah, you have like
the podcast now as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I heard your podcast and you sound awesome. Like, I want to see you.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's completely normal for everyone to get bookings based off, I love the way you look, or I love this kink that I can experience with you, or just I love the personality type that you are. So that's
and Ali's a character. If you don't follow her on Twitter, you should.
Oh God,
Poppy's telling me I need to get on it.
I know,
crazy.
you need to get Twitter. Oh my God, she sent me this like dog drinking mineral water on Twitter yesterday. I was like dying for like an hour. I was like, Ali, what the fuck?
It's like fancy.
It was a dog drinking mineral water.
That's hilarious.
So funny.
I feel like if you got a dog, that's what your dog would drink. To be fair,
No, it'd be drinking Evian for sure.
Exactly. Let's go.
And you also work, I think when I seen you told me you work at a pub as well.
I do. I manage a bar at the moment.
Yeah, and do you like, I don't know how you manage to do that and do everything else.
Says Kat that also does everything. But is your goal to be full-time in the sex industry, or do you just like the idea and like the experience of working in the bar at the same time?
Ideally, it's to be full-time in the sex industry. I guess having a safe job, like working at a bar, kind of still gives me a bit of stability and security, because sex work comes and goes. You know, it's seasonal. Sometimes during Christmas might be quiet or might be really busy. I'm pretty happy with how my life's going, but I know that I'm going to go sex work. I will do sex work full time by the end of the year.
I love that. And you would do a lot of collabs as well on OnlyFans. You collaborate, don't you?
I do. I started focusing more on OnlyFans probably in the past 6 months, and I've got a ton of collabs lined up for 2023 as well.
Yeah, that's great. And you're moving to Melbourne, you were telling me. Tell us about that. I know, I'm going to be so sad.
I'm sorry. I've got like sirens going on because I live in the city, so it's a bit crazy.
They'll probably come past you. That's right.
They're like, hey. Yeah, I am. Like, I love Melbourne. I'm there every couple of months for work. I always tour in Melbourne and I'm always booked out when I go. So I thought, why not just be in a city that makes me happier, and the work is always good there and there's a lot of content creators. So it will be a steady thing to be in, I guess.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is, I don't know if I said this to you. So all of the like escorts, they all live in Melbourne, and then like all the content creators live in the Gold Coast. I don't know why it's like that.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, it's like the Mecca for like escorts.
Well,
it's like Melbourne.
Sydney's the best
like,
city, so I don't know.
Yeah, Sydney's just in the middle. Like, it's just all we just like have lawyers and like doctors and shit.
We need to change that. We need to get some more content creators out there. We'll get some more escorts out here. We'll make it happen. Yeah. That's going to be your next thing. You can start an agency, Kat. We'll just be Sydney based, no one from Melbourne or Queensland. That's it. We'll start our own shit. So Ali, what do you do you ever have trans women or people come to you that have gone through the same experience that you have, that like, hey, I just don't feel like I'm in the right body, or I just feel different, or like I'm confused and I'm not sure? Do you ever have people that see your online presence as a sex worker, which I think, in all your credit, is one of the bravest things to do as a person, I think, to put yourself out there as a sex worker, because it carries such, as we spoke about, stigma. It catches a lot of what Kat said, backlash. And to do that as a trans woman that also carries a lot of stigma, I think is incredibly fucking brave. So I'm wondering, are there people that come to you that are confused, looking up to you in a way as a figure of someone like, holy fuck, not only did you did it, but you're making yourself public and as a sex worker, this is fucking amazing, and go to you for advice or just, shout you out, like, well done?
I've had trans women that I look up to in Sydney or online come up to me and saying that they look up to me because I'm just so open about myself and I don't hide who I am to anyone, and I'm just living my truth. So like with sex work, they're like, wow, you're breaking barriers and doing things that most trans women would be shunned upon or like, be kept a secret. But I'm just so public that being trans not even like the main focus of me. I'm just Ali. So and people like that and want to be like that to the point where your gender isn't gonna like be who you are. It's just part of you. So I have people, wanting to be like me or doing the things I do so that they could succeed and be happier within themselves.
Yeah, that's really good. I think there's just a general message of being open, being who you feel like you need to be, and doing that with like a level of, I don't know the right word, bravery.
Finesse.
Right? Yeah, it is. I think for everyone. I mean, I mentioned trans, people that are confused or thinking about transitioning and all that, but I think it's for everyone, right? I think it's for everyone that has a level of even insecurity. Like I look at even people like Kat that is out there as a very confident sex worker. And I think that does so much for everyone else's own sexual shame, right? I think it's really hard to look at yourself and feel a level of sexual shame when you see these women and men out there, on a public platform saying, you know what, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. This is my sexuality. I'm proud of it and I'm open with it. So I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm proud of who I am and I'm very outspoken. I don't like to sugarcoat things. There's no point in lying or, creating a fake scenario. Like I post my experiences as they are, unfiltered, and people like seeing someone just be themselves and not like, be on this pedestal that like I'm looking down on everyone because I'm being so successful at what I do. It's just got to keep it real and people will like you and respect you for being yourself.
Yeah, so, I actually started following you on Twitter before I knew that you were like a trans escort. I think you would have popped up in my feed and I was like, oh, this girl's funny. So I started following you and then I would have been following you for a few weeks before I realized that you were trans and it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit. I was like, she looks more feminine than I do. I was like, what the fuck? It literally just like blew my mind. But awesome. I do love how chill you are though, because actually when I did meet you, this is funny, I was telling you this story before. And so I told you as well when I first met you. So I was actually a little bit nervous because I don't know how, I'm sure I have met trans people before, but not I don't know, maybe not up close that I knew of, right? And I had to ask you, and I felt so bad. I was like, what do you have down there? And she was just so nice. And I was so curious, and I was like, I just had to know. Yeah. I was just so curious. But sure, and I was like, oh, she's probably gonna hate me now that I asked this question. But you were so chill, and you just answered it so smoothly, and you made me feel comfortable as well because, I even said to you, I was like, oh, I don't know if is this something wrong to ask, but I've never met anyone, and I'm so curious. And you were just just talking to me, but everything made me just feel so chill. And I was like, oh my God, this girl's so fun and so cool.
That's awesome. I'm actually curious about, so you mentioned you have surgery coming up, right? I'm going to admit, I'm super naive. I used to be a nurse, I'm a sex coach now, but this is something I know almost nothing about.
That was literally me.
Right, yeah, this sort of, I'm curious in terms of sensitivity and pleasure. Have they spoken to you about what to expect and how does it actually work after the surgery? This is what I'm curious about.
I'm getting my boobs done. I'm not getting the chop just yet.
Okay. Right. I was thinking it's a different surgery going on. All right. So you're just getting a boob job. Okay.
So do you plan to keep it as is down there? I don't know if can I ask that?
I do plan get surgery in the future. It's just at the moment we have OnlyFans and wanting to pursue the content route down the path. Having what I've got would still, make me who I am, and that will be beneficial to me financially. And the surgery, it's also like not cheap. It's about $30,000 to $40,000. It's a high risk.
That's crazy.
So it's just like, it's not anything in the plans for the next maybe like 5-10 years, which is also fine.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's half the appeal. I think like having like,
from like a working point of view.
I feel like that's that's where like the appeal and like the naughtiness kind of comes from. I think for sure.
Yeah, sorry. At the beginning, when you were like, "I'm getting a surgery so the outside matches the inside." Yeah, I thought there was a different kind of surgery going on. To be honest, you're getting a boob job. All right.
Actually, this is a question that I have. So
I'm sorry,
boob jobs are fun too. Okay.
Yeah, you're excited for your boob job.
With the hormones and things that you're taking, does that now I'm curious, does that change what you can feel like down there from like the man anatomy? Because if you're taking like estrogen and stuff, does that change your I don't know how to word it.
Does it change the sensitivity on your penis is what she wants to know. We can say, we're so used to TikTok, we can say penis all we want on YouTube.
I know, I'm trying to like be so sensitive.
We can say it, We're not on TikTok. We can say it all we want. That's why I like YouTube. YouTube's great. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, that is my question.
Does it affect the sensitivity on your penis?
Yeah.
That's right. Every time we do TikToks, Kat yells at me because I'll say sex and she's like, "Mark, we have to redo the TikTok because you said sex."
You love saying penis.
I do say, and I'm like, "Fuck," and she's like, "You can't say fuck either," and I'm like, "All right." But yeah, do you find the hormones change the way you have sex? Does it change the sensitivity of sex? Does it change the emotion you feel during sex? Have you noticed a difference?
Because estrogen, that would be unnatural to men. It's kind of like parts, right?
It's kind of like going through menopause at a young age. That's what estrogen feels like.
Oh, wow.
So hot flashes, the cramps, the mood swings, all that stuff.
Oh, my God. So you're getting all the shit parts of being a girl.
Yeah, well, basically. But
it's like all the worst part. I promise it's not that bad.
No, it's okay. Like, I feel like my body, I can't control like erections per se anymore as well. Just because I don't have any testosterone in my system. I can't ejaculate the way men would do, which is fine. I don't really care. But I have like full body orgasms the way a girl would have now as well, which is pretty intense.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was telling my friends the other night, it's like when I have sex with someone, I don't have to touch myself or anything. Like I don't feel anything anymore, but it's like I can have full body orgasms, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's because some girls can't even have like full body orgasms.
So you correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the way you access pleasure has changed from, let's say, physical touch from a dick, right? Let's say, to more of a full body sense. Maybe you could even describe it as like emotional. I don't know if that's the correct description, but more of a full body sense of pleasure as opposed to just what men, to be honest, most men growing up or, early in their sexual journeys just focus on like this, or even for girls, like just focus on the clit or they just focus on the dick and it's all they worry about. But you've kind of been put in a situation where you, I guess, are almost like encouraged or forced to adapt, which is what we try to teach a lot of people to do. But you've been put in that situation through the hormones where it's like, okay, I can't just focus on this one body part to receive pleasure. And you've learned to adapt to that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Yeah. It's like the mental aspect too. You got to connect with someone as well to feel turned on as well, and that's why with work sometimes it does impact how I conduct my business, but once you connect with someone then it's like smooth sailing from there on in.
What do you mean it changes the way you conduct your business with someone? What
so it's just like as a man you just be like, all right, let's fuck, like, you know what I mean? You don't have to connect with someone to have sex with them. But now I have to have a connection with someone. Otherwise,
okay, I understand what you're saying.
Or anything. Like I'm just there, and no one likes that.
Okay, now I understand what you mean. That's cool. Sorry, I looked over to Kat for the next question. She's like fixing her hair.
No, I have the next one, but I don't know how to word it. Like, so I've asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again, like on the air. So, do you prefer being like I don't know, top or bottom? Does that still make sense? Top or bottom? Or I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I prefer to bottom just because I feel more pleasure.
Yeah, more feminine, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's and anal's great as well.
Yeah.
That was our last podcast, actually. We were just saying that last podcast. Yeah, we encouraged everyone to put something up their ass on the last podcast. So if you still have the butt plug in for this podcast, welcome back, guys. It's good to have you here. But yeah, no. And what about your clients? Do you find a lot of clients prefer to be bottoming or topping? How do your clientele usually?
I feel like most clients love to top. Everyone likes to be dominant. They want to feel like the man in the room.
That's true.
It's great.
No.
I don't
Well, it works out for you. There you go. Match made in heaven. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess as well, as you were saying, like with the hormones now, it makes your like erections a little bit more unpredictable or less consistent as well. So it's probably better suited for you as well from a working point of view to be able to bottom. So that works out.
Do you still get like, so on that point about like maybe not being able to like control things, do you get like random boners? So we spoke about this on another podcast as well, and you were saying that they don't really happen much.
Well, not to you. When I was 14.
So now I'm curious, do you just get like random boners? Because like that would suck. Like, oh my God.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, it has happened. Look, someone can turn you on when you're out of the house and you're wearing a tight mini skirt in the middle of the city, and you're like, I will kill myself right now. Like,
because that's what I was saying. I was like, I reckon if I just got a random boner in public, and I was like, I'd have to just like go home. Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, this is as men, all right? When you're in your teenage years, it is, when I say random, it is random. Like you'll be sitting down
like looking
and
at a tree.
doing math. Like A plus B equals C squared, boom, boner. Like when did algebra give me a hard on? I don't know. But now I think what you're talking about, Ali, right, is like there's going to be some times where you're out and you meet someone maybe at a bar or like whatever it is, and you guys are connecting, like the emotional connection that you're talking about. You're getting turned on, you're getting horny. That's going to like maybe turn you on physically too, and you might have an erection, right? It's going to happen.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the worst because I tuck. If you guys don't know what that is, tucking is when you take your genitals and scoop them up so that like everything's flat under your clothes and no one can really tell or see that you got anything between your legs. Kind of like having a camel toe, but like flatter. So when I'm tucked, you know, having this erection whilst everything's like compressed, it's just like really painful as well. So like it's not a nice, it's like you're turned on, you're in pain, and all you want to do is like just, you know, hide in a bathroom somewhere and like hopefully it goes away.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Yeah. So is that what you have to do? Do you just like go to the bathroom and just like hide it out?
No, I feel like I try to think of like bad things. So like, like die now.
Think on sexy thoughts.
Is that what guys do when they get random bonus?
You gotta picture something like horror,
horrendous, like Chucky and shit.
Yeah. I think each guy.
So
do you know
funny.
how you have like a wank bank, right?
A what? Wait, sorry?
Wank bank.
What's a wank bank?
So do you know when you go to masturbate, right?
Yeah.
And you've got like a bank of thoughts or images that might be your go-to that get you super turned on. When you're young, right, there is like an anti-wank bank where it's like the things you want to think about
like
when algebra's turning you on that you just do not. Well, that's just weird. You don't want to think of like family. Makes it even more weird. But you want to.
God, it's really hard having a penis. Fucking hell.
It's tough being a man. It's tough.
Jesus Christ.
Ali, you've made the right move. So all right, let's talk about, if you don't mind, let's talk about your personal dating life then.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what I'm curious about. Like, are you still at this point like using Tinder, Bumble? Are you very upfront about what it is? Like, I'm curious, like what happens when you meet someone at a bar and, you know, maybe a guy comes up to you and he's like, hey, how you doing? What's up? Like, how far into that conversation are you like, by the way, there's something I need to tell you? Like, I'm curious about your dating life.
So I'm banned on Tinder, so that sucks.
Me too. Rest in peace.
Serious?
Yeah, I spoke about sex, but anyway, how did you get banned?
You can't speak about sex on Tinder. Is that not what it's for?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I had like a 3-year streak of never getting banned, and then it was like you used inappropriate language, blah blah blah. You went out.
I'll send my app your way. I have an account. I don't use it.
But I'm too busy these days. But how did you get banned, Ali? What happened?
I feel like just by being trans, I paid for like the premium because I was like, you know what, fuck it. I want to feel good about myself and I want to be picky. And I had about, I think, 8,000 people swipe on me in the space of 2 days. And so I was taking my time going through the people. But my profile says I'm trans, but all the guys that were swiping on me and I'd swipe on them didn't read my profile and they kept reporting me because apparently like I was tricking them even though it said on my bio that I'm trans. So a lot of people were having like this internalized hatred towards me because they were attracted to me, but because I'm trans, they were angry at me. So it is what it is.
I get that.
Yeah, I think it's a projection. Like there's two things about guys. One, we get random bonus to algebra, and two, they have big egos and get butthurt really easy. So I think you're right. I think what happens is like there's a lot of guys on Tinder, and I've seen this, right, where they are swiping and swiping. You got 8,000, right? They're lucky to get a 1 in a day, right? So they're swiping. They finally get a match, and then they might see trans, and they're already angry. I don't think it's even at you, right? They're already angry at the world that they've gotten no matches and they're not found attractive by, most women. And then like they might get a match and then be like, oh, well, fuck you, right? And they're fucking reporting you, which is unfair for you. It's bullshit, but I think it's a consequence of men's ego and butthurtness, and I'd say less so about you, to be honest.
Yeah, well, look, I feel like that's on them, not on me.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's on them. Yeah.
I guess it kind of like builds up my ego a bit more. It's like, hey, you think I'm hot, but
for sure.
Not my problem.
Yeah, exactly. You did swipe, motherfucker. Yeah. Exactly. All right. And what about in a bar? What happens there?
I do get people try to pick me up in bars and so on. I do tell them that I'm trans. I wouldn't say it right away just because you never know what someone could do or how they could react. So, I'll carry the conversation going, and then if it leads to the point where like, hey, can I get your number? I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm trans. Like, I don't want to like take this further without you knowing who I am in case, they might be interested in me. And there's been situations where people were interested in me and I didn't tell them until after we met, and then they were upset. So it's just like you can't really do right or wrong by anyone. And yeah, I
think it's hard to find that balance because I'm sure there's some people that are like, you should say it right away, but I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things about me that might disqualify myself as a partner for women that I know. But I'm not going to go up to them and be like, for example, I spend most of my time in Europe, right? I'm going to be leaving in a few months and going to Europe. If I meet a girl out at a club, the first thing I say isn't, hey, by the way, just letting you know, I'm going to be leaving the country in 4 months or something. Like none of us do this. So I think it's completely fine to have a conversation first and actually get to know this person and maybe see if there is some level of chemistry there and then be like, hey, by the way, and it's hard to find that balance. I agree with you. I think it'd also be tough if you didn't tell them and then waited because now they just feel like manipulated or lied to as well. So it'd be tough to find that balance. I think it's a hard thing to manage.
It's kind of the same even for telling, like for when you're going to tell someone that you're an escort.
100%.
There's no general consensus. And I've spoken to like a few girls and they're like, oh yeah, rip the Band-Aid off, tell the guy straight away. And then others are like, no, wait until you're like 3 or 4 dates in. And but there's really just no, I don't think there's exactly what you said. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's always hard.
When do you talk about your sex work with guys as well? Like, that's an interesting question.
Because you'd have to tell them 2 things.
Yeah, you got a couple of things to break to them.
Oh, fuck. I'm just for a secret. I do. I tell them like, I feel like guys love hearing that girls do sex work for some reason. It turns them on to know that a girl does OnlyFans or that she's an escort. Somehow they're like, oh, wow, she must be kinkier than what she seems, even though that's not like the case. They just feel like this person's very sexually active. So in their mind, this person might be a partner for them because they enjoy sex or to do sex for work.
And do you feel that in your personal dating life, that because I know I have friends that are escorts. I haven't spoke to, I think, Kat about this specifically, but I have friends that are escorts that feel that a lot of times when they meet guys and they tell them, I'm an escort, I'm an OnlyFans girl, there does become like a fetish around that, or kink would be the right word, but there's guys that just want to sleep with them, or the girls feel like this. Feel like there's guys that just want to sleep with them because they're an escort or because they're OnlyFans girls, and might lose interest afterwards because it's like, okay, I
ticked that box.
Yeah, tick that box essentially. Do you feel a similar way with being trans? Like, do you feel like there are guys or women that think, okay, I've ticked that box now?
Most definitely. Like, a lot of guys would hit me up or chase me for weeks or months on end until to the point where I'm like, all right, we can sleep together. And then once they sleep with me, they're like, all right, done. Fuck the trans girl. That's, that's fine by me. Like, I don't really care. Like, I'm, doing something good for someone, I guess. I'm there first. And with sex work as well, like with my ex, I gave up doing sex work during the relationship because I felt like I wanted the fairy tale relationship. So I gave up, my online content. I gave up escorting. But like, I don't know. I think like dating a sex worker, people just need to be ready that this is a job and it's not just a hobby.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, it makes it tough. It really does. Because as you said, like, you're put in a scenario, I feel, where it's either A, you have to find someone that is open-minded enough and has enough, I want to say like self-worth, that they are not going to be so intimidated by a partner doing this type of work. Or B, you have to then make that sacrifice or give it up. So it does narrow the long-term dating field. And as you said, like, you can have fun. Like, I don't think there's a problem, by the way, if there's people out there that are like, hey, there's this kink I want to try and you're the perfect person to try with, and let's have some fun one time, right? Like, there was a girl that hit me up yesterday, Kat, on fucking WhatsApp and was like, hi.
What?
I'm like, who is this? She's like, I heard you're dominant. And I was like,
what?
Yes.
I promise I did not pass on your number.
And then I was like, who? Because I don't use WhatsApp that often. I'm like, who gave you my number? She's like, oh, I won't, maybe fuck it. I'll say the name on air. I don't give a fuck. She's like, Savannah. And I was like,
who's that?
I don't know. I was like, who the fuck is Savannah? And it was some like Tinder girl. I don't think I even met up with her. It was like,
oh my God,
like during lockdown or some shit.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I don't think like, and that I'm not offended by, right? I'm not sitting here being
I'm like, whatever. Like,
going around. If there's like a cute girl and we just want to have like a once-off fun thing, it's totally fine. But it's, I think it's a different thing though, Ali, right? If like there's a guy that is promising a more long-term relationship or giving off those vibes and behaviors, you said chasing you for months, maybe they're like, oh, I really want to be, and then fucking are like, all right, bye. I think that's the difference, right? I think it's okay if you just want to have fun one time.
Yeah, look, I feel like everyone's kind of been through that before as well. Like when someone tries to get close with you just because they want something out of you. I wouldn't say it's just like a thing for trans people. At the end of the day, people want something out of other people. So getting close to someone to sleep with them. I know a lot of guys have done that to some of my friends that are just like girls, or girls have done it to my guy friends. It's just like people just want something out of someone else. And my thing is I'd rather someone be direct rather than just, walk around the bush, or so to say. Don't lead me on with the hopes that something might happen between us. If you just want to have sex, let me know, hey, let's fuck. And then I'll be like, all right, maybe, but
yes or no, right? Yeah, you can decide.
Don't waste time.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I'm curious. This is just something, because I know that some of the advertising websites, like for escorts, I know some of them are a little bit funny with who they accept on their platforms. Like, do you advertise on like the ads? Have you faced any like complications with like your ads anywhere? Or
no, I haven't. I haven't faced any complications on there. Like my ad has gone on the I guess, cis girls part of the site, and people not realizing that I'm trans when they try to book me. It does happen a lot where people look at my photos and they're like, oh my God, I want to meet you. And then it's like, hey, I'm trans. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see that, or I didn't read that. And it's kind of like, it can be very dangerous. It can be, you know, not safe. Like, I've been in situations where I've been booked for like multiple hours. I show up, you know, we get naked and they're like, oh fuck, I didn't realize that you were trans. And it's like,
shit.
We should have read. Yeah. And like, I assume that everybody obviously reads.
Yeah, you would assume that people read,
Yeah.
right? Oh, but you'd be surprised how many people don't read shit. Like,
What?
yeah, like they,
That's
yeah.
insane.
I've even had you even get like people message you and they like, you go back and forth and they're like, can I see your photo? It's like, where the fuck did you even get my number from then?
And they message you like a second ago as well. Like,
Yeah, like, you seriously get people trying to book you and then they're
This
like, wait a minute,
blows
what do
my
you
mind.
look like? And I'm like,
Which
babe.
one are you again?
Guys literally
Because
doing that.
just from the point of view of like, just from a money investment, like guys are paying, it's not cheap. Let's be fair, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's an investment.
yeah, it's an investment. Like, what I can't imagine a guy, like for me anyway, like even if I'm going out to buy a toaster, I'm reading like, okay, what does this toaster
you
do?
read
What does
the
this
fine
toaster
print. Yeah,
do?
you want to look at the back, right?
Like, how can you book someone without actually reading your profile?
They
That's
do.
impressive.
Or looking at their photos.
Or looking at their photos. Yeah, just got a number in front of me. I'll just,
Yeah, like they must just like go on it and just do like
maybe they
lucky
just
dip.
like the surprise though. Maybe they're just like a Kinder surprise. Like I'll book someone and I just won't know. Maybe that's what it is. I hope so.
They do
Otherwise,
that
these
too.
guys are
Oh,
stupid.
yeah.
One of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is.
So what do you do in that situation, Ali? Like, are you?
I freaked out.
She's just
What
standing
else
there
could
with
you
like
do?
everything out. Yeah, fuck.
So like,
Okay,
I-
question. Sorry, Ali. Are there any guys that are like, hang on, wait a second, I didn't know you were trans. And you're like, yeah, I am. And they're like, all right, let's go. Are there any guys that just went along with it and had their first experience without planning?
yes.
Ooh.
And how did that?
I love that.
Did they have a good time? Like, how did they find the experience?
Well, I'm successful. Let's just say that. I don't kiss and tell certain things. I can't really disclose.
I love that.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I'm sure there's times where you probably felt probably a little bit scared, right? Like,
Yeah.
do any of these
I
guys
think-
get angry?
Yes, I've had people try to get violent with me, even though like I'm not doing anything wrong. They're the ones that booked me and didn't read my profile. And it does get a little bit scary. It's like I shouldn't have to fear for my own safety because someone didn't bother to read, you know, on my profile. And it's happened to a lot of other trans workers out there, and it's happened to anyone that does sex work. Like, there's always one bad apple.
Is there anything you're doing to prevent that? Like, is there anything you can do to prevent that?
I've gotten pretty good at reading. When someone messages me, I can pick up on it now as well. That's why I send them to my social media pages, or I'll let them know, like, hey, double check my site just once again, just have a read through it again, make sure that we're on the same page. But I do try to push for people to go look at my social media so they can get more of a vibe about me, or like, hey, have a quick look at my reviews before you book me, just to make sure that I'm the right person for you.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like I'm making them do that work.
Yeah.
That's good. You would get a lot of clients from social media as well, wouldn't you? Lots of Twitter people.
It's funny. It happened last night. I was just online ranting about something, and someone was like, hey, I think you're really funny. Because I'm going to Melbourne this weekend. They're like, once you're in Melbourne, I'd love to book you. And they booked me for like a dinner date experience based on the fact that I'm just
Yeah, awesome on Twitter.
on the internet. Yeah.
It's crazy how many
I thought I
clients
was
you get
losing
from
the plot.
Twitter.
Yeah.
It's bloody crazy. Yeah, I can imagine you would get heaps. Yeah, I love your tweets.
But I guess like this is the whole reason OnlyFans is successful, right? It's that guys want to feel that there's more there than just physical pleasure. Even though, like, look, guys get stereotyped in that way that, I just want to fuck, I just want to get my dick wet. But I think for most men, when you actually speak to them, all their best sexual experience are going to be, Ali, when you described, when they're feeling something, when there's something there. And the whole reason I think the OnlyFans platform works is that guys feel connected to that person, because everyone can just look up porn on the net, right? Everyone can do that. And I think like when people are booking you, obviously through Twitter, things like this, like it doesn't actually surprise me that much that people would rather book with someone they already feel like an internet connection with, where they already feel like, oh, this person is amazing.
Yeah, like they feel like they would know you a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like I like those people a lot more than the typical inquiry, just because they kind of like already know me or about me or what I'm like, rather than just looking at the photos, be like, oh, it's a hot girl in lingerie, I want to sleep with her. But then they see that side of me that's like talking about video games or like getting drunk in a club at like 4 a.m, and they like the fact that and I'm not hiding behind a persona. And it's like, it's embarrassing for me that they know so much about me in like a private sort of thing, but it just makes me more comfortable around them than someone just messaging me right off the bat if I'm available.
So just on this Twitter point, I asked you this before, but I want to ask it again on air. Do you get, because you are quite big in like the Twitter sphere and stuff, do you get recognised like out in Sydney or wherever, any city, I guess?
It's happened a few times. I was in Adelaide for work about a year ago, and I was going to get McDonald's at 2 a.m, and someone inside my lift was like, hey, I think I know you from somewhere. I was like, I don't think so. I'm probably got one of those faces. And they're like, no, you're Ali. I follow you on OnlyFans. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm going to have an anxiety attack that someone knows me in this random city that I'm by myself in. I'm probably going to get murdered.
That is what your first thought goes.
This person,
yeah, my first thought was like, oh yeah, thanks.
No, I haven't. I've been recognized by clients that I've had. Like, so I've run into clients of mine. Yeah. But I was actually saying this. So this is when Ali and I spoke about this, and she was like, "Yeah, I get recognized." I'm like, I'm just waiting for someone to recognize me on the street. I was like, that is my dream. I want to walk around the street and be like, "Oh my god, like hey, that's like hilarious. I've seen your face." And then Ali was then telling me the story. She's like, "No, she's like, trust me, no."
It might be fun on the street. Wait till you're at Macca's at 2 a.m. You think you're gonna get killed.
Yeah, she was like trying to turn me off it, and I was like, "No, I'm still all about it. I still want to be recognized."
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it.
I would get off on that. Yeah, like I'd have to go home and like get off on that. I probably like my first fan that recognizes me. I'd be like, all right, you me behind in this alley
right now.
Like, right
would you want them to recognize you off Twitter or OnlyFans? Or YouTube. Okay, that'd be the hottest thing for you. Okay,
I would have to fuck them in the street.
There you go.
The first person that comes up to me, if anyone's the first person that comes up to me recognizes me.
There's gonna be all Sydney guys out just.
That's gonna make me so horny. Yes, scouting me out.
I think there's a big difference between being recognized from your escort work and your content work. I don't know. It just feels different. Like with the ones that follow you for your content or your online presence, they kind of like know what you're like and they're a fan of yours. But someone that recognizes you, like, hey, I seen your ad, and you're like, oh, great, I just got outed as an escort in public. Like, not that I care, but it's just like, you know, I don't go around parading.
You know, I actually do think that a lot, especially because like both of us, we're both face out, right? And I think that all the time. I'm like, I wonder how many people I walk past would see me and go, "Fuck, that's that hoe that I see on it." But like, they obviously probably wouldn't. Like, a lot of people probably wouldn't say anything to me. But I'm like, there would surely be times that I'm like walking down the street and people are like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's her."
Yeah, and I think it's different in sex work because in the kink community, let's say, because. Like if you're in a sex party, swinger parties, BDSM events, it's kind of a very known rule that you don't out people. Like if you're out at another party, like you're just meeting people in the club, you don't go up and be like, oh, you're the person from that BDSM event or some shit, right? Like it's a very known idea that you're not like outing people in front of their friends because some people are sensitive about this. Obviously, all of us don't give too much of a fuck about it, but there's people that have jobs that might care or like family perceptions and things like that. But it's a bit different, I think, when you're a sex worker and, you know, clients or people in your, they don't understand that concept. you know, you could be with your family and you don't want someone coming up and being like, oh, you're the girl from OnlyFans.
No, the best is when like you might meet a client like I don't know, in the lobby, or like you open the door and they're like, oh my God, nice to meet you. And it's like, shh.
It's like, shh, no, not me.
It's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Because it's, especially if you're in the one city for a long time, I'm sure it happened a lot, right? Like you've probably ran into a lot of clients, I assume.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, so there's only been a couple times where it's like, yeah, someone that I've seen, like I've seen run into 2 clients at a stab, a good old stab. And then I ran into one client once just like at Top Juice, like in Pitt Street Mall.
Oh, there you go.
But like I had seen them, like, so they were like clients of mine. And then they were like, oh, hey, but like they didn't say anything weird. They were just like, oh, hey, like, how are you? I was like, oh yeah, like good to see you, whatever. Yeah. And then like, the ones that I ran into at a stab, they like bought me drinks. I was like, thank you.
Just take all the fucking drinks.
I was like, oh, I'm actually here with my 10 friends.
That's awesome. All right. So Ali, I do have questions then. Like in terms of trans women that want to get into OnlyFans or want to get into escorting, what advice would you give them? Do you think there is like from a business point of view, do you think there is a market then for them? What advice would you give them? Is it right for them to be worried about the stigma that they might face, or do you feel that it's not a problem at all? Like, what advice would you give someone that's thinking about getting into sex work as a trans person?
If you want to get into sex work, don't do it because you think that it's going to be easy money. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. It's not just, hey, let's fuck for a few $100. It's, you gotta have photo shoots, you gotta keep up your social media, your admin, pay your taxes. There's a lot involved with sex work. And as fun and glamorous we might make it out to be, it's not an easy job. You've got to be really on the ball with it, and you are being with people the whole time. It's not just about the sex. You're kind of like a therapist for someone else. So sometimes you can go into a booking and it might take it out of you mentally and you come out of it crying. Not because anything bad happened, but you're just absorbing like all this energy from like all different people that it does take a toll on your body and your mind. I wouldn't say sex work is all about sex. So you got to be really strong-minded, and you got to make sure that this is a path for you. It's not just about making money.
I love that. People do usually think that it is just easy money, but yeah, people wouldn't see what happens behind the scenes. And I'm sure, Mark, like you've probably even seen like me, like even me doing it, like you even say like, you know how like much I work and like crazy and stuff like that. So yeah, you are totally right. It is like so much stuff behind the scenes that people just think like, oh yeah, you just sleep with a few people and that's it. It's like, oh no, no. Like you think it is that, but yeah, it's actually so much more work than I even thought that it would be as well. Especially if you want to do it properly. Like, I mean, sure, you can probably have sex with a few people for a few dollars, but if you want to do it properly and make like proper money from it, yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's tough, yeah. And it's really interesting you mentioned about the therapist angle, because that was the one thing that I was surprised about years and years ago when I started like dating girls that were in sex work. And often they tell me they're like, yeah, I just got back from a booking, but we didn't have sex. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, they just wanted to chat. And,
yeah, that happens.
And even obviously a lot of the bookings where you are having sex, there's a lot of chat that's going on. And I think there's, a lot of guys that are using this service as an emotional support, or like someone to be able to vent to, or someone to be able to chat to. And it's a very real phenomenon, as anyone that provides that type of support, or we felt it in nursing, therapists are a good example of this, where you take a lot of that emotion on. Like you would leave some of these bookings and it's almost like a mini trauma of you've just experienced what this person is going through. You empathize with it, you take a part of that. And yeah, doing that over and over again, and it builds up. So you got to be careful about, I guess, your own, mental health and your own emotional support.
Actually, I have a question just kind of like offshooting from that. So I think we spoke like on one of the earlier episodes where I was talking about how I had a lesbian go down on me and she did like a really, really good job. Yeah. And now I'm just curious, do you find it an advantage being a guy servicing guys? Because like you would know like what.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, because like I don't know what it feels like to have a dick. I don't know what I should be touching, but like you would know like exactly like what to do, right?
Yeah. Do you feel as a trans woman you are better at pleasing guys because you can empathize a little bit better?
I feel like it's all about having skills. And if you know what you're doing, then there's not an issue. You can just say, I don't think because I'm trans, I might have an advantage. I just know what I'm doing. And I'm sure if you were a male or a female in the same position, it's all about your skills.
I
know not to bite something off. Yeah.
She's I just feel like maybe a guy might feel comfortable more like with another guy, because guys usually do tend to have more guy friends than like girlfriends. So like, I don't know, I'm probably like just sounding so dumb saying this, but I'm just thinking that, I don't know, maybe there might be some extra added layer of like comfortability if like with it. I don't know. That was just a thought that I had.
No, I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay.
I have male workers as friends, and they see straight men that want to divulge into being with a male. They're living their life as straight men with wives and kids, but they wouldn't go see a trans woman or a woman. They would like to see a man because that's their fantasy. It's the same way that someone will come see me because I'm their fantasy. But I guess it just goes back on having like what you're good at and the skills that you're good at.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think there's a lot of people that just make the assumption that women would be really good at going down another girl.
Me.
But I guarantee you, I know there's plenty of women that I've been with and we'd have like threesomes with or like group sex, and women that are like, let's say a little bit curious or just straight will go down another girl, like it'll be, part of the fun. And they're terrible. I'm telling you.
Vaginas freak me out.
They are just straight up horrible. And I think the reason that lesbians are so good at oral for the most part is not because they've got a fucking pussy themselves. I think for the most part it's because that's most of their sex life is like going down and performing oral. So they get really good at it. And some men that do it all the time get really good at it. So I think there is some empathy there. I think there is some empathy of like girls, can project what they usually like onto other girls, and maybe that's right sometimes. But I agree with you. I think like if you build up the skills, then but
it's also if you're doing it for your own pleasure, it comes across as like you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
You're not just doing it because you're doing it because it turns you on. So like that translates into you doing a better job than most people.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I love cock. So I can say.
I was going to say the best blowjobs I've ever received is when the girl has just looked like she's in heaven.
Oh,
like
when there's a pretty dick, you just want to put it in your mouth.
There you go, yeah. See, that's the type of attitude I like, Ali. You know what I mean? Like that's
be a nice dick. Otherwise, you can't do it.
Yeah, no, vaginas, they freak me out. Like I have no...
They freak me out.
I feel like you can tell as well, because like I do like girl stuff on OnlyFans, and I feel like you can just tell. Like if you would look at my face really close, I feel like my face.
Your face is like, I'm doing this for work, guys. Oh, what am I doing? That's so funny. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm in the right profession then.
All right. Well, Ali, it's been great to talk to you. Do you have any other questions? Or do you want to end it off on you like sucking pretty dicks?
Wrong name. We have to edit that out.
Fuck. Cat. I was wondering why you looked at me like that. I was like, what's going on? This, okay,
it's okay, we can
7 episodes.
7 episodes in, not one
Ali.
mistake. They got us just with Ali as well. Like they got us like not someone else weird.
I got it right every time. I feel so disappointed in myself right now. Cat.
Make sure we edit that out. I'm going to have to write that.
All right, yeah.
Not that that goes out. Oh my goodness, I'll die.
Sorry about that, Cat. Did you have any other questions?
No other questions.
All right. Sorry about the name drop. All right, Ali, thank you so much for jumping on with us. It's been really interesting chatting to you. Sorry for any of my naive questions, but I feel like I've found out so much more. It's so interesting to hear about you and your life and your journey with OnlyFans and escorting and sex industry in general. And maybe we'll see you out some night in Sydney. We'll need to hang out.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No, I appreciate it. Cheers.
See ya.